Hello again, this is Athena Jezik. We thought it would be nice to just show you some of the things to do on the back of the neck. I've shown quite a bit on the front of the neck, but there's also a lot of muscle structure that comes into the back of the neck. The vertebrae is closer to the back side of the neck. The levator scapula muscle ties into the neck, which attaches onto the scapula. The trapezius muscle also ties into the neck, and the back of the head where the muscles are attaching there and also into the cervical vertebrae are very tight at times. A lot of people have a lot of tension that's back here. Partly I think it's structural because of the way that we sit, the way that we look down all the time, the way that we're at our computers. You know, we're getting to be kind of sedentary. We don't think about arching our backs. The thoracic part of our back kind of then begins to follow that line. So it's good to keep these muscles softer and not quite as tense so that they don't come into that patterning of tension and discomfort. So I'm going to use just a little tiny bit of oil here, and I'll be putting it on the neck and a little bit onto the upper shoulder. I might need a little bit more oil, just a tad more, just a couple more drops. And then I'll just work it here. So that's just enough. You want it just enough viscosity to have yourself slip. You don't want a whole lot of oil, but you want enough so that you're not going to just be pulling skin. So a good place to start is just start at the back of the head, right at the base of the skull, and then I take both of my thumbs and brush them down and follow the shoulder line. And it looks like there's a fair amount of pressure, but it's not really a lot of pressure. It's enough to get into that muscle. Those muscles are, you know, they're pretty active, so they have quite a bit of strength to them. But you don't want to just dig in. And then I'm going to go down the vertebrae. When I make these turns, I'm going down a little farther into, so I'm passing now C7 and getting into the top thoracic vertebrae. I'm not going to go down too far, but I am going to take it down to the point of the trapezius, at least on this first sweep, which is about here. It's not quite there, but, and then I'm just going to draw the fingers up either side of the spine. Up through here, there's a little tension right along the vertebrae there. So I slow down and I wait for it to just, it feels like it undulates a little bit, and then it feels like it unwinds. And then I'm going to bring it up to the base of the skull and then open it up here. Take it a little bit more to the side with the fingers, working a little bit more cross fiber through here, and then a little bit cross fiber through there. Okay. Now, what is nice to do is get up right up to the base of the skull and place your fingers right on the edge of that skull. And be very gentle right now, because we're going to now make sure that your fingers are on either side of the vertebrae, that you're not on the vertebrae or in the middle of the vertebrae. And with the index fingers, just start to feel, I don't know exactly how to explain this. I guess you just place your fingers there, let them more or less rest there, and curve the fingers in a way so that the fingers are kind of pointing towards the eyes. And then just put enough pressure that the muscle isn't pushing back on you hard, but that it's just kind of resting there. And you're going to start feeling some undulation if you're doing this correctly. And keep staying with that, because what's happening now is my fingers are being pulled more underneath the skull. Not like it's way up there, you know, grabbing the brain or anything, but it's just, it's like curving in. You can kind of see the curve of my fingers. It's curving in. And then when it feels, there's a lot of undulation, so the muscles are already releasing to a degree. And this is a very light work. This is very relaxing. It's somewhat like the cranial base release, but not quite. It's close. And then you can add the second fingers right alongside of that and put them close together and let them point the same way and wait for that little part of the muscles to undulate and begin to release, pulling your fingers in deeper. And then if you have a fairly broad neck, you don't want to go much more than 3 fingers. If you're really skinny necked, then maybe only 2, or if you're a smaller person, but usually 3 fingers is what works well. And do the same thing with that third finger. Curl it under and feel it undulate a little bit, and also feel it pull you in. Now this is a big turn that it's doing right now. You can kind of see my hands moving. I'm following her tissue. It wants to unwind this way. Oh, there's a lot of relaxing and unwinding happening underneath these fingers. Now it kind of did its little rendezvous around in that little circle it needed to do. And now it's coming back into the position it needs to. So whatever it did, it seems like it was realigning itself through the tension and maybe the positional stuff and the work that the neck's been doing, so that it's going well. I feel a little pulsing, therapeutic pulsing, so the muscles actually do want to make a change. And just let it happen. And then when it feels like it's quieting down, which it's almost ready to do, I want you to take the middle fingers off. You just take that off and rotate the index finger and then glide it right along the skull, right along the edge of that skull. And it feels like it's opening up. It just kind of feels like it opens up. And go really slow. And then when it gets down a little ways about where the third finger was, then you can let it up. You can do that a couple of times. Make sure that you're not on the vertebrae, you're on either side of the vertebrae. Hold that there. Let it pull underneath. And then just give a nice little stretch. And I can feel a big change actually going up into her occiput there. There was quite a dramatic little shift that went there. Now it's on that side, the other side. So those muscles that are attaching into the head are also being relaxed. Okay, so that's really a nice move. Let's do it 3 times. I always think 3 is like a good number. Now you can take the thumbs again and run down that, and it's going to feel a little bit different. If you're doing this as a profession, you'll have to kind of identify how it feels different, but to me it feels softer, and I'm still working these muscles. Okay. Now you can take your fingers here and hold again either side of the vertebrae, and then take this thumb and you're going across the vertebrae, but it's like you're holding, you're anchoring that top, maybe the atlas or the axis. You're just anchoring those vertebrae, and you don't have your hand pressing on the head. It's resting there, but it's really not pressing. It's stabilizing and anchoring the neck. I'm going to do it with my finger. Sometimes it's easier to do that. Okay, and then you can come up and across again, and then check the muscles this way. Okay, then you can kind of go to the side and pull up, and this is a trapezius muscle right here. I'm underneath the trapezius, so you can kind of lift that up and get underneath and go up into the neck there. And then if you want, you can get your fingers in there and bring it all the way up. And that's more along the side of, it's not directly onto that long muscle there at the neck. It's the trapezius that comes in at an angle. And I'm using my fingers because the angle from my thumbs doesn't work too well. And then the same thing on this side. That'll be a little harder to see, perhaps, but you're going underneath the trapezius, and then just pulling that part that you're underneath, pulling it open. So you're pulling it kind of in an outward position, outward being upward and outward. It's hard to explain some of these different directions. And then you can, again, get in there and just do the little short ones at first to just go to the vertebrae, and that feels good. And then take it, and here's where I have to change the fingers and bring that all the way up. And all the way up. Very slowly. You'll feel a lot of things if you go slow. And then I'm just going to work the upper vertebrae here, crisscross across these few bones in between. Now there's kind of a bump, and then there's a dip, and so you're in the dip and moving around. So the bump is like up above, and the dip is where your fingers or your thumbs are going. And this is a nice feeling. Okay, and we'll get to the base of the neck here, and then just spread that out. And then with the levator scapula muscle, just find where that is and draw that up here. And just take that and let your fingers sink in. And then just follow it up. It's kind of more of an iron. It is with the fiber. It's not cross fiber. You're going with the fiber of the muscle. And then we're going to do a little cross fiber right through here to get that up where it's in, and then the same thing here. Up and up. Just following it. Then you can go all the way. It does attach into the neck. And just, sometimes each side needs it done just a little bit differently, but basically you do the same thing, but sometimes you have just modify a little bit, because one side might be a little tighter than the other. So this feels nice. It's very pliable right now. Then you can go into the base of the skull and just kind of work into the head area. There are thin muscles around the head, but you want to make sure here you're not just moving hair follicles around, that you're actually moving the skin. Yeah, it has a lot of movement to it. Might not seem like it would, but it does. And then just come up to where the occiput and the parietal comes together. And work in there. That there's always kind of a nice feeling in that area of the body. And rocking back and forth. Every once in a while my thumbs feel like they're wanting to jerk, and that's feeling releasing underneath there. And then I'm just going to go down along the occiput. Okay, then if you want, you can go a little higher on the head. Just work the head a little bit more. You can get around the ears. And there you just want to, well, actually you could kind of go around the ear like this, pulling upward from the skin, and then also taking the ear and just rotating it very gently behind the ear with the thumbs. And I'm doing it over here. That won't be seen, but I'm taking it around the ear. And then the little thumb circles on that other ear. You can do them both at the same time. And then you can go to the top of the head. And because the face is in this face cradle, so it's kind of like it's stuck in a donut, you can't really get much range of motion going on. So if I was in a session, I would eventually a person have them turn over and just do some neck rotations. But you can't always do that. It depends on what people are there for. And when I used to do massage therapy and people would come in for just the neck, back, and shoulders, I would just make sure that these muscles are nice and loose, and then they would always be able to kind of move their neck around and do that. So it's now I'm just right along the scapula, and I'm feeling that these muscles are wanting a little bit of attention because the other part of that muscle has been released. So you want to just give a little bit of cross fiber. It's a little more cross fiber there, and then straight across. And same on the other side. Okay. And then you can just, once again, come back up either side of the vertebrae with your fingers, your index fingers. And I'll just tuck my other fingers back so you can see it. And that feels nice and smooth all the way up. There was a little bit of tension coming up, but it opened up very nice as I continued the movement upward. And here we are, and then we're going to do that stretch from the middle. And that's real good. And then just kind of move the shoulders back and forth. And you can see how the muscle, possibly how the muscle is actually moving back and forth. Just giving a little bit of maneuvering ability to it, because it should feel quite different when she gets up. And a little circular stuff. And if you want to, you can do a little tapping just through there. I don't really like to potement that well. I just do a little bit with my fingers, just to let the muscles know that they can wake up and they can go back to their normal position, and everything should be feeling better. Okay, so there we have it. That will help for, just relaxation, and it might help a little bit for headaches. Headaches are kind of a weird thing. But if you have like computer neck, or if you've been in a car accident and gotten a little whiplash, this is very helpful for it. It's gentle. It's not creating more trauma on an already traumatized neck. So with that, I want to say thank you so much. I appreciate the comments. Please make a comment. Both Karina and I read them. Give us a like. And if you want to know more about some of these subtle techniques, just check out my class. The website is listed below the video. Thank you so much again, and we'll see you soon. I want to invite you to explore my course, The Foundations of Subtle Alignment. It is going to take you beyond the work of massage therapy. It will take you into the world of the subtle anatomy. In this course, you will learn about the subtle anatomy and a protocol for assessing and aligning the subtle structures. Misalignment of the subtle structures is often the root cause of chronic pain, injuries, and chronically high levels of stress hormones. These techniques offer profound benefit whether you are working on people with complex issues or not.